Hello, everyone. I'm just gonna give you a couple of minutes here to trickle in whomever is going to participate tonight. Very good. Welcome, everyone. Still just a minute or two for people to arrive. Yes, hello, everyone. Mm-hmm. So on a little post contemplation from the last streaming, we basically found out that it was probably more wise to roll on with YouTube streaming instead, simply because it seemed like a lot of people had trouble with Facebook. Yeah, so that's why we're here now. So let's see if this works better. Mm-hmm. The surroundings that I'm in. Aisha, you wrote. Well, I bought this house 2 years ago. And I started playing. And it was a pretty busted place when I bought it. But now there are made ceilings, and I have cemented walls, and I have put down floors, and now it's a lovely little nest of mine, filled to the brim, by the way, with the love which is shared with everyone else. It was kind of like one of those moves that had to happen as a part of giving the same love that I give to everything else to myself. So it's pretty beautiful here now. And all of the walls have been manually rendered by these hands with cement and a lot of love. Yeah. I took like these washed wood pieces from the beach and built them into the walls and made arches here and there, and like these rustic walls. It's kind of like living in a cave. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes. That's not happening. Not now. All right. So maybe that's maybe we're ready to roll. Seems like it. Okay, so I know we shifted to YouTube, but the playbook is the same here, as in what we have to engage with each other is this this chat section where you can write inquiries in there, and I'll be very happy to answer. And you can write them along as they pop up, and I will scroll around a little and we'll make it work. We'll make it work. Yeah, but to start out with, yes, to start out with, I would like us to just tune in, everybody here, and to basically connect in with source. There's like a shitload of questions rolling in now. This is very good. Thank you. I'll come back to it. Yes, I would like us to just center and focus ourselves into that deeper connection with source. And I'm probably not going to do like a whole meditation the way I do it with online events normally, but rather do it like in waves, so that there is constant invitation to a deeper, is a greater opportunity for listening and for receiving the keys that can be shared here tonight. So, oh shit. Oh, I'm on again, I think. Okay. So we just had a unstable connection, it said on my screen, but we should be on again now. The thing is that outside here now, there's like a shitstorm happening. A lot of wind, and that sometimes can have a little effect on things, which is weird because actually I have this fiber net. But anyway, let's get to it. Yes. So a deeper invitation here and now, and waves into the deeper connection. A lot of things going on in the room. Inviting you to close your eyes, to make sure that you have a good seat. Don't be too laid back, and don't sit crouching forward, but a fairly straight spine. I'm inviting you to make that deeper connection, first of all, in through your headspace. And you can basically draw yourself in and back, home. Allow yourself to aware the entire structure, the bone structure behind your face. From the cheekbones, forehead, and down to the the jaws, the upper and the bottom jaw. I invite you here now to let the mask drop, saying completely, and set your face free. Allow that draw into your headspace to include also your throat. Allowing for that deeper sensation to enter your throat as well. Consciousness, consciousness, and more consciousness. Allow yourself to include your upper chest, shoulders, to let your breath carry you deeply into the center of silence in you. You can let that breath continue down through your chest, your lungs, your heart, into your solar plexus. And we just let a deeper drop and draw backwards happen in your headspace. As you draw back, you can allow yourself to let that space through the head expand infinitely backwards and infinitely to every side. Just basically let yourself empty your mind for a while. With a growing focus through the headspace, we expand downwards to include the belly gradually and gently. From the top down to include the middle of the belly. Expanding to each side. And with great tenderness, including the front of the belly as well. Including the front of your belly in that deep sensitivity that it invites to, in the vulnerability. So I hope you enjoyed working with the streaming from last week. And it's an interesting time in several ways. It seems like the further we get in the time spent where the norm is out of function, so to speak, the deeper we are also invited into that ground of being where there is a deep call for a very strong responsibility. What I find is that the basic ground of deep despair, basically, is revealing in very many people in terms of that scratching the surface towards the wounding, which is the separation from God on ground. Relax your shoulders, please. And your neck. I'm in contact with various people, and it seems to me that all of those teachings, which it was hard to approach before, or which there still was some kind of free choice around, that actually that free choice is very much disappearing. And today, maybe you have noticed, but today has been a strong day, and there is that deeper invitation continuously to allow yourself to practice radical compassion as the very strength and dedication to the inner willingness to drop, the inner willingness to embrace yourself in all that you are, in exactly the collapse of all of that, which in this time kind of is falling apart. All of those things that we've had to upkeep our self-image, all of those parts of our self-worth, which was deeply ingrained with whatever we were doing, with some idea or plan for the future. There is a great invitation here, everyone. And it's getting more and more obvious. Week by week that is passing with this. What is also revealing is the various movements on this planet and with the states, and it's really kind of crazy how everything is being taken to such great extremes in terms of robbing people's freedom. It's really interesting. Crazy. Yeah. How we handle it, however, is our choice. How we handle it is our choice. And no one or no situation, no state, no sanction or rule or anything can remove your innermost invitation to freedom. Nothing can touch your deepest value. Nothing can touch your freedom to practice radical compassion, to unfold yourself in the deepest palm of her lap, or like the deepest palm of her, or like in her lap, basically. And it's a great opportunity in this time also, a great opportunity to have that space to meet these places. And we can either go about that with a complaining mind, with a fearful mind, or we can go about it by realizing the great potential that is in this. The opportunity to meet these aspects which otherwise would be held away from our sight, from our feeling, by everything seemingly being okay while the background processes are running as attachment to various self-confirming patterns. Yeah. I feel like taking the first question. I'm going to read it out and then let's see. I would like to be saved and taken care of by the Black Mother so she would live through human me. Is this bad? How could I make or allow this to happen? For one, Stan, I'd say that saved and taken care of by the Black Mother, what she will do is to remove every part of you which is less than fully honest, less than fully appreciative, less than fully grateful, less than fully humble, less than patient, less than free, less than true. There's definitely aspects of our letting go to her, which is about that landing in her palm. And there are also aspects of letting go to her, which is about our coming fully into the responsibility for our lives, the responsibility for our joy, the responsibility for our holding inside. And this is why I'm mentioning this radical compassion, because basically it is through that practice of radical compassion that you approach that ground. So what is this radical compassion? Radical compassion is the application of yourself as consciousness, as loving attention into the depths of your body and being, into the ground, and in turn into the ground of being. The intention to bow, the willingness to empty out and to bow yourself from all of the aspects of making twists around power, the deepest surrender into the blackness, the silence, followed by the highest responsibility of living the stronger and deeper wisdom that is born through that. This is basically how the hollowing out happens. For she living through your human body, basically your human must be returned to its wholeness, to its innocence, and you have a life to complete, which means living strongly and dying strongly for that delivery fully into her. So the main or the core of this is exactly that. That surrender. That surrender that allows us both to bow deeply into that deep link and that deep connection with her, to answer her call when we have lived, and to keep our innermost ear to the ground at all times. For when there is that knocking, that call into deeper silence into deeper darkness. And then to let ourselves move in there as love. To allow for that illumination, to allow ourselves to drop in there and become so peeled of all of the strategies of our human, all of the strategies of our minds, of our actions, of our speech, all of the ways in which we manipulate, and to let ourselves gradually become more and more naked. I find that the journey of stripping naked, or I would rather say of merging into that black gold, is like an ocean. It keeps rolling waves, rolling, drawing back, rolling into existence, drawing back. For every rolling into existence, there is a new and greater invitation to birth beauty as you're living life as this human. And for every time the wave rolls back into the ocean, there is a return into the deep and dark womb of creation. And when I call it womb, it's because the sense of that return isn't just a void as it is when recognition is through the head. When it's a deep bowing of the head to the ground and a return to the power of creation, to the force of creation through the belly. It has the womb-like feeling in the sense that it is as black as the void, but its endlessness is its endlessness and its emptiness is truly full at the same time. So just like the womb kind of closes around a fetus, that's how it feels. It doesn't feel disconnected. It's deep connection. It's deep, deep holding. So in regards to maybe that answered your questions in terms of how to allow that to happen. There's a deep surrender of bowing your mind to the ground, of becoming truly humble, of returning to innocence, the purification of your sexuality, purification of your relationship with power, a dissolution of your identity on ground. While most people like the moment we come down into the ground, we come to feel deeply separate. Individuals, yes, but individuals in the it's almost like the individuality that we experience when we go down usually is like contracted or a contraction. But actually, when truth gets to arrive into that contraction and opens to breathe, then on that ground, in that ground, we become eternal. And in that moment, it becomes very hard to tell actually what is her and what is you. But at the same time, I would say that it's likely that the whole hollowing out of the human that happens in that ground, wherein she comes to live stronger and stronger, that requires ongoing fulfillment of all of the aspects of your humanness, of your human experience. that needs care, that needs to be fulfilled. Because whether we like it or not, it's not a coincidence that we have gotten human bodies. It's not just because they are great vehicles to realize something higher or something. It's not like this. The deepest and most intimate fulfillment of your life is absolutely and completely fully included in the arrival of her. And I find that every little seed calling for fulfillment, the moment there is fulfillment, whatever was drawn or dragged towards this fulfillment, whatever that may be in regards of intimate relationship, or in the work sphere, or like whatever it is, experiences, whatever it is, at the moment that it is fulfilled, it turns into dust. And the moment that which would drag us towards a greater fulfillment, in some sense, the moment that is fulfilled, then the aspect of the identity, or the someone who was drawn in that direction, it becomes null and void, just nothing, disappears, and there's even more space for the eternal. So this is basically how and why it is extremely important for us to move with the human fulfillment. The suppressing of our humanity is a deeply dangerous game to play. It can get us into various states of realization or states of awareness and all of this. But for the actual fulfillment, the alignment, and the totality of reality, for that all inclusion, wherein the other realizations are also included as a part of that completion, but it's not one or a highest realization. It's the totality of the embrace of reality. And inside of that, every aspect of your humanity awaits to be fulfilled. Yes. Yes. Okay, a sip of tea. Yeah. Okay, before we go to the next question, maybe an invitation to a deeper drop. Try to include your relaxation all the way down through your legs, through your knees, down to your ankles, and into your feet, and especially the soles of your feet. Continuing. Last note to the last question is that the very idea of being saved by and taken care of by somehow defies the logic of her in its totality, simply because finding the deepest self-love and the deepest self-care and the full self-responsibility are extremely significant aspects of even coming close to be able to bow ourselves up towards that gate of the force of creation. Yeah. Okay, let's do the next one. How to switch from the survival mode fully into the loving mode with everything. Yeah, well, I mean, we need to look at the logic of what's moving here first. The survival mode, if you want to look a little deeper on that, it's, of course, fear. It's fear and movement. So it is fear-based movement. To actually move yourself into a love-based movement, you have to surrender yourself to a love which isn't just about serving you personally. So love is always about everyone. Love isn't about a person. Love is always love of God, love of reality, and through that, love of everything. So the survival mode seems to, I mean, with what's going on right now and what's kicking off right now, there is a hell of a a test standing there, basically. But it seems to me that the very basis of survival mode, it lies where the mind gets involved, where a deeper drop into the heart is what allows, and a softening of our minds in the heart, and a softening of our hearts into the belly. This is what brings us deeper and deeper into the stability of ourselves as love. The stability of ourselves as love is all about the emptying out of the identification in the heart. And that game is all about love or fear. So the how to shift out of survival would be by choosing love over and over and over again. In every moment, you have a choice. In every moment, your choice can be love over fear. And that means to choose to relax down into your body when your mind is racing on this survival and fear-based bandwidth, I'd say. What I find, though, is that the basic survival that is ignited when we come into the belly is it's deeply connected with our actual instincts, and the deep connection into our human animal is an incredibly important part of coming into that power of creation. But I would rather call it the awakening of the instinctual body, in a way, and the touch upon that, the nature of the human body, the animal body, with pure consciousness, pure awareness. In that, I know that there is a journey, and it's can be a strong journey, but a journey into the source of where fear arises from in this animal body. The reason that I'm giving two answers now is because in general, when people are moving into this fear-based survival mode where, I don't know, like everything that's going on now, that's the first answer. That's where you have to put your mind down and drop down into the heart, into love. But when you drop deeper down even more, right there is an actual like survival strength, I could almost say, that is where there is a great listening into the earth that supplies a hell of a wisdom and an extremely strong intuition, I would say. And the intuition linked with the instincts, linked with survival. So the whole spleen and I mean, inside of the spleen is actually the oldest voice. And that voice that basically keeps us alive, which has to do with our immune defense and everything else. But in our deep work into these aspects of the human body and the human body's nature, we are being asked to kind of penetrate as consciousness through to become holders of that center in the brain, the reptilian brain, that place where the fight or flight sets off from, and where these basic, very basic instincts, they basically ignite. It's a very, very interesting piece of work to do that work and to zoom in on and really get to approach this place in us, which is what rears up when there is any kind of threat. And I find that, by the way, that this is an incredibly important part of our awakening, is to let the body awaken as well, to let the body's senses awaken, but in a way which is also deeply realistic and deeply grounded, and where the human animal can, like, is always there. To me, it kind of feels like a panther. The human body is like a panther, and when it's filled to the brim with pure power, then my experience is that all of the senses are so alit that it's like the hearing changes. It becomes extremely sharp. And like sometimes when I go into the forest, for instance, I find that that's one of the places where I can really turn up the the volume. And then when I walk into the forest, I can feel the faculties of my human animal really come alive. And that also means, like, if I breathe through my mouth, it's like I can like translate sounds through taste and like through smell and stuff. It's very interesting. You should really check it out. Yeah. Anyway, so that was like two lines of this whole survival thing. Yes. So wait a moment. Another question here. I deeply feel that I do not deserve love and financial abundance. I am never good enough, have to always earn a right to everything. That it would be better if I would not exist. What could I do? Well, Stan, it sounds like you have a lot of work to do in terms of coming in to that deeper self-love, where you start setting free all of these different weights that you are carrying of self-judgment, of self-punishment, I would even say. the be better if I would not exist part. That's just a sentence which lies on top of a feeling of wanting to die. 1 second. The feeling of wanting to die is not a bad thing. There is a deeply call to truth at the center of it. And when we get an experience like that, now you express it as a reflection of a feeling, interpretation. It would be a deep need in the ego, in the egoic structure, to dissolve, to cease to exist. So without all of the translations of what it is about, you would find a simple need to die to truth. And to say it straight, if you would not exist, this is like, it makes no sense. There's nowhere to go, trust me. Yeah. Thinking that there is a way out in this regard is like, yeah. It makes no sense. If you see the bigger picture of things, it's just there is nowhere to go. There is only the way ahead, and that way is paved with resolution and dissolution of all of the ignorance and the karmic debt, so to speak. And more than that, I'd say there is an invitation to the deeper and most magnificent self-reflection, self-realization, and to lose all of these aspects of identity where we are clouded over the true value of our beings and the true value of being itself as the deepest recognition and realization of who you truly are. Yeah. That deeper call to not exist anymore. I gotta say it straight, I find it to be really beautiful. I find life and death to be equally beautiful. And the fact that that the deeper invitation in it lies to dissolve ourselves into absolutely nothing is basically an invitation for the truth body to unfold, because that's where we realize and recognize the empty nature of all things. So when we have a thought from the me in the head of not existing, it's simply that deep longing, the longing for truth, the longing for our own letting go, our own dissolution, our own dust in the wind. Yeah. Yeah. And hey, everyone new here. Wonderful to see you. Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Someone wrote me last time to speak a little about death and the relationship with death in this time. And what I would like to say about it is, well, as an extension of what we just, or what I just shared with you, is that for one, the extent to which our bodies react with fear towards death. And I'm not just talking about the igniting of that deeper layer of the instincts and survival in that, and the practicality, the pragmatic part of that which comes with the deep listening. Because obviously there is that part. There is the part of applying the practical layer of doing what needs to be done, right? So there's that part. But there is a higher reality also, wherein death itself is an impossibility, where the existence in the body or beyond the body becomes just two different reflections of consciousness, of reality, of our perceptions, experience of being here, even. Yeah. I find that we don't need to have an opinion about death. I find that there is the possibility of both holding the deeper layer of care, wherein, and that's that rest in the ground of her, where all is included. That care, where we take care of what is needed. In that ground, there is not carelessness around death. There is a full holding. There is a full embrace. But in other aspects of our being, what is really beautiful is when we allow ourselves also to celebrate death while we're alive. And it's not a celebration of the death of human lives. It's a celebration of the death of the solidity of the somebodiness. It's a celebration of letting go. A celebration of truth as the open hands, the open heart, the open head, and the open belly, wherein everything, anything, and nothing can happen. Where our deepest acceptance of the moment is what allows us to die in the moment. Or we take responsibility for and take care of any aspect inside of us which is in disagreement to what this moment is. And just to include what the next question about the taking away your freedom part. That's exactly the point. No one can take away your freedom. We can be put under various whatever, but freedom is an inner state of being. Freedom is the freedom from the someone suffering. Freedom. And it doesn't mean, of course, that there isn't great effect from all of the movements that are being made in the world today. Because shit is happening. Shit is happening. There's no doubt about that. But we can be with what is happening in a deeply grounded way. We can be with what is happening from a place of taking care and letting die. And we can trust that there is a much bigger picture in play right now than just what some government is doing or what some governments are doing. I promise you, what is happening right now is a much greater scope of everything. And it's a deep, deep, beautiful invitation. An invitation, I mean, it's the first time in the history of man that everyone has been sent home. And the sent home part is much more than a sent to your house kind of thing. Everyone is being pushed back home. And there are various shit going on the side of that, but that's not really the point. That's not really the point. In terms of what anger can arise in the face of what's happening on that front, I would say that the constriction part, in ways in which we are constricted, naturally gives birth to anger. But I would also say that we can go from there and we can bring the energy of our surrender and our love and our care completely into whatever we are with. And into that listening where we're all taking responsibility. Because that is what will change things. That is what will change things. And when I say responsibility, I mean the part of igniting our ability to respond. Respond in the moment. Respond truthfully in the moment. And also to let the power of creation sift through the cauldron inside, so that anger is goes through the process of purifying and is turned into compassion. Compassion which isn't afraid to act, but which is not having an arrow of anger up your hiney. There is a deeper intelligence waiting to move in the world than anger responding to anger and fear responding to fear. The invitation is much greater now than this. Much greater. And we will go there. It'll take a little time, but we're going. It's very good. And no matter how cruel it can look on the outside, then there is such a beauty on the outside of things right now. Just the fact that everything stopped and the way in which the planet is now given the possibility to heal herself. I mean, it's magnificent. It's incredible, and it's affecting everyone being sent home to take care of their own self, while the planet as well, and the animals and the seas and everything is just benefiting from the fact that we stop bullshitting and carelessness, yes. Yes. So another one here. Lately I feel to observe how to listen to the intuitive heart without grasping into its knowing and without interpreting it, and at the same time not doubting it. Mm-hmm. The listening is, of course, the arrival of your consciousness into the heart sphere. So of course there is a needing to, I could almost say, master your attention towards living from a deeper place inside of you, a drop from the mind and into the body, into the heart. Yeah. In terms of the grasping of its knowing, and I want to say that there's a journey through the heart which is going to test you properly in terms of your ability to be sincere in that opening of the heart. And in terms of the grasping of its knowing, there's an ongoing emptying of the mind that needs to happen in that also. So it's not like it's just a heart thing. Because the moment that the wisdom starts unfolding through the heart, then the mind is bound to start from the identification place, from the conclusion place, from the belief place, that it's going to continuously try to make new static images, new boxes. But this mind can be surrendered as well. Obviously, listening to and moving with that intuitive heart is amazing. It's the real beauty of letting life happen, basically. Yeah. But also to see and recognize that the heart isn't just your heart. Your heart is your entire body. Your heart needs to grow into your head. Your heart needs to grow into your belly. But so I could say that the belly needs to grow into your heart, and the belly needs to grow into your mind. And so on. Yes. In terms of this doubting it part, there is something I want to say about that, which is that to move with the heart ignites our action body. And as we are to act, we have to be okay with making mistakes. Because learning to love is all about burning out that someone in the heart. That someone that loves the closest ones more than the stranger. To break down that hierarchy of loving. And to do that, to say it straight, we have to go through some challenges. Because whenever we do move like this, sometimes the grasping happens in the opening through the heart. The next layer of identity can arise and it needs to burn through. But you can keep on expanding your consciousness. And for every time it expands, there's going to be a new rim, a new level of identification waiting to burn in that fire of love, the fire of truth. You can't decide not to grasp the knowing. What you can do is that you can take responsibility once it happens. You can take responsibility for letting go when you see that you have grasped. You can study the ways in which you grasp, and you can start training your consciousness and training your awareness to be aware of yourself and when these mechanisms kick off. And the moment that you see something moving within that inner structure that points in that direction because you have studied it, then you can allow yourself to center more and die into the heart, die into love deeper, step into the fire with sincerity, with a deeper bowing to God. Yes. Mm. What we can't do is, from the mind's place, expect ourselves to be able to do this without making mistakes. So this part of to do it without doubting it, without interpreting it, I'd say that the choice of moving and stepping in love, there really isn't any interpretation in that. There really isn't any doubting in that. But it's something with taking one step and then the next 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 step. Yeah. But doing that from the deeper and deeper yes to step into that flame, it doesn't really take analysis and things like this. It just takes that surface of sincerity, as I spoke about. That sincerity that makes you willing to give up everything into God's hands. Yeah. Mm. In terms of the grasping itself, it's something with really getting to know yourself. And I say it like this because the fact is that we have an identity to eradicate in the heart, but we also have one in the belly and in the head. And we need to be interested enough in ourselves to really to feel our way into the depths of these movements that we're making. And then to do that with that sincerity and with that honesty, because deep down we already know when we're grasping. If we only want to stay at the surface, we can grasp the shit out of everything and we don't even notice. But if we are truly dedicated to truth, if we're interested, then we need to look closer and closer and closer. And in that looking closer and closer, the moment that we can see that there is any wavering from the deepest dedication, the deepest bowing, then to toss ourselves right back into that fire, simply. And not spend a long time waiting for something to change, waiting for things to get better, waiting for love, waiting for life to happen, waiting for someone else to push us back into ourselves. It is our responsibility to do that investigation, to turn towards ourselves with such a level of surrender and dedication that we would rather stand in the face of truth than anything else. Dear Aisha, how to live the ideal of who I truly am when I am not fully accepting myself, feeling awkward in my body. Is this ideal setting me up for failure? Trying to live an ideal is maybe one of the greatest deviations from reality you can find. There's no ideal to live by. What there's needed is a deep, deep honesty. Please let go of any ideas, because ideals are based on ideas. What is needed is a deep, deep yes to be present with what's in you. If you feel awkward in your body, wow, be more interested in that part than in trying to live up to some ideal which your mind sets as the menu for the day. It's like there is no option other than finding that acceptance of yourself. And you can only do that by truly falling in love with yourself. And there isn't a single ideal there. The moment you start moving with ideals, all you can basically come with is imitation. To truly know yourself, you have to disappear, you have to die into yourself. Then the uniqueness of you can shine through, and that is very different than an attempt to live an ideal. This is also why traditions or religions can be very dangerous in a way, because I see that people who really go for that somehow come to follow a set of rules, like a moral, like rearranging, which makes it incredibly hard for them to embrace the deeper darkness in themselves. And when I say embrace, I don't mean to move into and start flourishing from that, but I mean to actually apply ourselves as that radical compassion, which can help light up these places. We can't do that from a place of an ideal. The ideal, the very idea of an ideal in that moment is an obstacle to being real. What you need to do is to deeply celebrate, be present with, be compassionate with, be loving in the face of every part of yourself. Allow yourself to let go, and let go in various ways, to find out how and when. Letting go means simply the release. Finding out when letting go means to set off into a different path of action or a specific path of action. Find out when letting go is allowing yourself to be deeper present with and in your senses and in your feelings. And the whole dance of all three parts, to let that be letting go into the deep darkness of her as well. Yeah. So then another writes, so it is all about being present in the moment with what is and what is needed. Indeed. Indeed it is. And to keep on giving yourself deeper and deeper, exactly into the presence of this moment. And to see the release and the love that happens there. Being present, if you link that up with the power of evolution, then your love will always get stronger. When I say it like that, I mean it as the ongoing dedication to truth that will always bring you deeper into source. That dedication needs to be there. That dedication is, yes, the deeper invitation. For you in particular, Hans, there is an incredible importance in applying this. The aspect that in any way can consider the surrender to God as being apart from the surrender to your deepest self, to you. And exactly through being present, through applying deep, deep presence, along with letting go, along with deep holding power, Yeah, it really matters. By the way, the part of feeling awkward in our bodies, what I find is that when we embrace that willingness to be deeply in the flesh, we're going to come up against all of the aspects of our self-love which are missing. Welcome. And this means that we're going to have to be present through some very uncomfortable feelings sometimes. Because in those places where our self-love is missing, in these places there is a deep need for us to arrive, first of all. And when we arrive, to engage ourselves as pure consciousness, as love, so that we agree to be fully present at the center, in the middle of this uncomfortability. If we don't do this, we will watch our minds set off into various stories about why we are feeling uncomfortable. We're going to try to rearrange things on the outside to see if we can make ourselves uncomfortable. But the fact of the situation is that if there is self-rejection in the system, then this is the cause of the uncomfortability. And this is why it's really important that we grow into this radical compassion, because that growing into the radical compassion is growing into the space, the capacity as love in the ground that is able to stay put in the face of every sort of uncomfortability. This is the way to landing into that ground of being. We can't apply an idea of how we should be. The moment we try to imitate spirituality, imitate wholeness, imitate reality, we are shooting our own foot, to say it straight. There's a call and an invitation for something much deeper than that. Taking our lives much more serious while laughing a hell of a lot more. Yeah, we don't ever forget to laugh at yourself, and at the same time, don't laugh at yourself from a careless place. Do it from a cute place. Yeah. Do it from a place of thinking that you're actually adorable while you're fussing. Yeah. And bring that willingness, bring that love, bring that willingness to care all the way home to yourself. Bring it back, bring it home. Yeah. Yeah. A last note would be, probably, for this time at least, that all of the ways in which we are giving ourselves a hard time by not owning what's in us, it's exactly that time where you have an inner struggle. You're not owning the way in which you are disregarding your true experience in that moment. When I say true experience, I mean that the feeling of your frustration can be as true as anything. when you are accepting what's in the ground, being present with that, yeah, then beauty can be born. Beauty is born through that ground wherein you choose and bow to with a yes to love yourself. It's always easier for us to love someone else, but actually we can't truly love anyone else before we love ourselves. Yeah. So that was all for this time. I wish you a wonderful coming week. I look forward to see all of you next week. I'm gonna see some result from this, like how it went with this YouTube thing, and if it went okay with, like, on your end, then yeah, then we'll continue with YouTube as the primary thing. It works well, I guess, seems. And either way, I deeply invite you to tune in next Thursday, same time. And I send all of you so much love, and I ask you, with a palm to yours, to take so deeply good care of yourself, of the people around you. Yes. Thank you, everyone.